Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To everyone. Firstly, I'd like to thank Ismail Dorat and team for creating this Ummah Tech. I think a platform of collaboration meets inspiration and when ideas meet action. Inshallah, I hope this is going to be a start of building our Medina operating system. Sorry, I'm using this. Okay. Secondly, I want to acknowledge Sheikh Sulaiman for his profound insights in the Muslim mind in the age of algorithms. Your words is really remind us about technology, how powerful technology is, but our values and intentions and our faith is what truly guides us. Today, I hope to share ideas and empower us to navigate the digital age with clarity, conscience, and purpose, inshallah. Let's get into it. Okay, inshallah, I'm going to take you through the structure of the talk. The first one is really talk about the theme. I think in terms of leadership in the context, it's important to understand what are we leading and how technology is providing a powerful player in our society going forward. Secondly, I'll take you through the understanding of a CIO. This is referred to a professional in organization that leads technology, that builds technology, and that aligns business strategy in the organization. I'll then bring you back to Islam in terms of how does it align to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'll take you through a little bit of a journey as a Muslim CIO and what is my turning point in terms of providing purpose. Secondly, I'll bring you back in terms of technology and leadership. What does it mean to us? What does it mean to the Ummah? How can we provide leadership through humanity? I think it's very, very important to bring practicality into the position. Then we'll go through some key takeaways. I see there's a lot of young generation here. It's important to understand what are the key takeaways and what you can take out of this going forward from a leadership and amānah perspective going forward. I'll take you through a little bit of a compass that from a Muslim perspective, from an Islamic framework perspective, gives us a guide and navigate through the digital age, as I said, with clear conscience and purpose. Inshallah, then closing inspiration with a few words in terms of what are our call to purpose going forward. Let me quickly get to the next slide. Let's get into it. So inshallah, as you can see, before we get into it, understand the context in which we lead. Technology is no longer just a tool. It's basically shaping behaviors, influence our decisions, and it's impacting communities. Technology is the new language of influence, and that's very, very important to understand. The responsibilities of us as Muslim leaders is to do more, is to provide greater good, and to serve humanity. And I think as CIOs, we are just providing direction for organizations, providing strategies, but we need to bring the amānah back into play, the trust into play. If you look at technology as amānah, as I said, the force for empowerment and growth is to create not harm and not only look for profitability, but to serve good. And I think if we use the principle of amānah and trust around technology, I think from that perspective, we will move forward. From a purpose-driven leadership perspective, I think bringing purpose and technology leadership is very important. As a Muslim CIO, we are expected as magicians to solve problems, to create miracles. But most importantly, when things go wrong, we need to provide empathy. It's important that Islam provides us with a framework. And we need to use that framework within technology leaders to apply the principles, to apply the knowledge around amānah, trust, excellence. And I'll go through the alliance with regard to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in terms of similar roles of what technology leaders are playing. How do we align to that going forward? But the question today is really, we need to look at the challenges. And what we are trying to do here is really ask a few questions here. Is how do we use technology to serve humanity? For a Muslim leader, the question is not just about leading technology, but it's what's the purpose of innovation? What values drive and underpin our decisions? When we do something, what does it mean? When we create technology, what are we doing it forward for? What's the purpose? Are we serving people? Are we serving humanity? And I think that's the question we need to answer today. I'm going to try to give you more answers, and I'm trying to leverage my knowledge and my experience to help drive that leadership purpose so you can understand what are we moving forward and how technology is moving quickly so that we can drive technology in the right way. As Ismail has mentioned this morning, how do we create that Medina operating system together? How do we play that role as Muslim CIOs, as Muslim leaders, as scholars into that world? And I think each of us in this room has a lead and responsibility to play, whether it's just a developer, whether you're a DBA, whether you're a administrator. We all got a role to play in this Medina world that we're trying to create for ourselves. I want to quickly take you, before I go into the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in terms of the key things that he wants to see us from a Muslim CIO, I just want to give you an understanding of what our CIO is. What we call technology leaders, they're called Chief Information Officers. And what their role is to really align, to take the organization, to align and enable business objectives, to enable the organization to be digitized, to bring in innovation, to improve efficiency. And that's really what our role is in organizations. But we've got a bigger purpose. If you look at some of the competencies, and I'm going to align the competencies to our Prophet leadership model shortly, you look at strategic planning. We need to plan for the organization. We need to look at security, and I'm going to talk about protecting assets, information, people's information. We need to also provide capital planning. We need to provide leadership management, provide the right people and culture. We need to provide technology acquisitions. We need to bring the right technology into the organization. We need to improve processes. We need to also assess technology, whether the right technology is going to work for the company and what we're doing for it's very important. We also need to provide architecture and also align policy and governance going forward. So I think the governance is where amānah comes into play. We need to ensure that we do the right things. We provide the right policies, the right compliance, and the right framework going forward. So let's move it. Let's take it quickly to the Islamic perspective of what the CEO should do. So if you look at the architecture, and if you look at Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the leadership framework, I'm going to just talk a little bit about the parallels around it. So these are the principles going forward from a CIO perspective, and bringing in the principles of amānah. What is amānah? It's building trust. It's building integrity and transparency in everything we do. Everything we build, the systems we do. How do we provide the systems? How do we ensure that there's trust within what we're building going forward? If you look at the second one, which is... Sorry, Maf, I'm just trying to get my page. Yeah, so if you look at justice being fair, and how do you actually provide fairness, digital equality for all? How do you include fairness? How do you include consultation in terms of shura? Collaboration, bring everybody into the party, into making sure you have all decisions. Compassion, and this is very important. How to bring people into the conversation? How do we ensure rahmah? And the last one is really, before we move to taqwa, is excellence. How do you create perfection in everything you do? I think that's more important. Taqwa consciousness is really about moral awareness, and this is going to become very, very important with the age of AI. How do we do AI for good? How do we provide the guidance and policies going forward? The prophetic model shows us that leadership is not only about results, but it shows us it's about how results are achieved, and I think that's very important to understand. The next slide is really to show the comparisons between a leader and the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. If you look at the key principles and the key thing about amānah, if you look at shura, if you look at rahmah, if you look at iḥsān, if you look at taqwa, I'm not going to go through this. It looks exactly, if we can follow the leadership model here, inshallah, I think we can drive the right prophet, the right model in terms of making sure that we as IT leaders, we do the right thing, We make sure we drive purpose, we drive humanity, and we drive purpose for everything that we can do, inshallah, Ameen. I want to take you quickly through my CIO journey. So when I started as a CIO, everything was managing systems, making sure that we allow solving problems. Every platform in data systems is amānah. So the principles that, inshallah, we need to, sorry, I'm going forward here. We need to look at is how do we bring intention, why we lead, how do we serve, and what do we deliver. My current role, currently in the public sector, allows me to provide that role, to serve and to understand these questions. What are we doing for the people? What are we trying to achieve? What information are we trying to protect? What information are we trying to stimulate from a project perspective? And those are all important going forward. From a turning point perspective, I want to talk a little bit about leadership. In each leadership journey, you define success, and the success changes you in your way. My turning point is really to understand when I really got inspired by gift of the givers. I think being involved, and with my wife being on the medical team, technology has a huge part to play. If you look at what they're trying to achieve, how they want to achieve it, technology is very important. And I think this inspired me to say, technology has much more to do. We can enable technology going forward in a way if we provide more data. This is very important because it changes your perception of what technology can do. Technology is not viewed as a tool, but it's viewed as a human life efficiency in terms of how can you serve. It's not about the systems you create, but how do you serve and take the systems and serve the community going forward. I quickly want to talk about purpose, and then inshallah I'll conclude with a few more of the slides. I talked about amānah. We must serve and create and provide a trust. We need to also look at performance. It's not about system uptime, it's about model uptime. If we apply the maqāṣid al-sharīʿah framework within technology, it's more about protecting life, looking at your information, intellect, looking at your IP, your faith in terms of how you protect information, your property, your assets, your digital dignity as well going forward. The Prophet builds hearts before systems. We must build systems that protect hearts. Faith as a compass. Islam guides us, and I think we need to understand what is our compass and what guides us going forward. So I'm going to quickly go into this. So in order to gift of the givers had awakening with them in terms of how to be inspired. This allowed me to take consciousness into action. How do we empower communities? This is an organization that basically provides education and technology to the disadvantaged. I got involved ensuring that we provide computers, we provide tech hubs into the rural areas. So this is where purpose, this is where humanity is coming in. How do we do more of this? How do we create this in our organization and in our country? Just a quick takeaways. From an education perspective, I think always educate yourself. Keep learning. The best leaders are those students of both Deen and Dunya. Network and collaboration. Build bridges, not silos. We are all working toward the same problem. And I think what is important here, we're not working alone. I just want to show you, this is the World CIO Conference that I am part of, and I'm the ambassador for South Africa. My role is really to bring the CIOs around the world. Our challenges in South Africa is not the same as all around the world. This is the one I attended last year. We have brothers from Saudi, Malaysia, Indonesia, and we're all fighting the same problem. We all have the same issue. But how do we create a platform for Muslim CIOs to actually work together going forward? And I think this is very important. Ready to network, work with the brothers and see, and inshallah, hopefully we can bring in a Muslim CIO forum so we can learn from our brothers around the world from 55 countries so that we can see that our technology issues are not different to any around the world. It's exactly the same. We're struggling with the same issues, but how do we work together in collaboration? Network and collaboration, I talked about that. Find your purpose. I think it's very important to find what's your turning point. What inspires you? How can you take technology to serve people? That's very important. Make a difference, don't just consume technology. So in your community, whatever you're doing, try to make a small little difference. Whether it is mentoring someone or you're trying to use it for NPO, try to make a difference, inshallah, in whatever way you can do. And then what's important here is to have faith, as the foundation remembers, to use niyyah and use our iḥsān and our principles to move forward. There's a CIO compass, and I think that's important. I think I just quickly want to go through the quickly last few slides. The niyyah, I've talked about it. Let's purpose guide every decision. Let's use trust. Let's technology serve humanity, not just efficiency. Iḥsān, strive for quality and integrity. Measure success by KPIs, by human impact, trust, and normal alignment. Technology can reboot, but purpose must always stay online. So the call to purpose is really to the digital age is our generation's test of leadership. Our goal is to remember the values in our systems. It's important that we look at the frameworks, look at the mission, and understand how technology is going to provide humanity and purpose. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.